All right. So Hebrews is a fabulous book, you guys. And today's just kind of an overview first talk. That's why we did 2 videos. We're going to watch that one video quite often, the Jesus is Better video. It's really powerful, and I've listened to it a lot of times, and it's really interesting how many times you discover new things as you listen to it, and you're like, yeah. So, Jesus is better. I think that is one of the hardest things to accept. Well, mentally I can accept it, but deep down inside it's a hard one. And I think that a lot of the problems in my life, and probably in your life, come when we start to doubt that Jesus is better than what we can see around us and what the world is offering us, or the possibilities that are before us. So in today's talk, I'm just going to we're going to go through the first 4 verses, but I'm just going to kind of give you a little bit of maybe why I think this is such an important book for us today. And ultimately, I think, like deep down inside, like right from the core of my heart, I guess you could say, or who I am, one of the reasons why I think we do Wednesday night ignites, where we talk about Jesus and we talk about the Bible and we talk about these important things, is because my heart for you is that you would actually come to the point where you go, yeah, Jesus is better. And so that for me is super exciting, and I've seen it happen to students. I've been a youth pastor for 20 some years, and I've seen lots and lots of students, their lives completely transformed and changed because they decided to follow Jesus. And so, yeah, the next few months, we're just going to talk about Jesus is better. That's going to be the theme. And so as we get started, I just wanted to connect with you a little bit to kind of help us to understand that we're all in the same place. And so I think you'll agree with me in a moment, that everyone is looking for something better. Just think about it for a moment. It probably won't take you very long to think about something that you would like that would be better. Or maybe it would make you a better person, or a better player, or a better student, or more valuable, make you feel better. But everybody's looking for something better. Could be a better life. Now, let's just start right from the kind of the baseline. A better life. Everyone's looking for something better. Maybe a better car. A few of you guys got cars. I mean, as soon as you get into the market, this becomes an issue that you have to deal with, because there's always better cars. And, life would be better if, or we had a more reliable car, or, yeah, that kind of stuff. Somebody's identifying already. Better marks, right? You're looking for better marks at school. Some of you study really hard because that's your motivation. You want better marks. Some of you just want better marks. And you're not really into studying. You just really wish you could have better marks. Some of you have jobs, and I've heard this a lot, and I've felt this too, because I had a lot of jobs before I became a youth pastor. But a better job. Boy, life would be so much better if I had a better job. Or maybe friends. Maybe you feel lonely, and like you don't have really good friends, and you're just like, man, what I really like is better friends. Or maybe it's gadgets. Life would be so much better if I had a better phone. Or a better phone plan. Or a better following on social media. Or back to if you had a job, better pay. Or back to school here, better class. Now you get put in the class, you're like, that other class is so much better. Or that other teacher. I got this teacher, are you kidding me? That teacher is so much better. This one sucks. No offense, teachers here. Same goes with pastors, right? Youth pastors. Oh no. How about this? Better clothes. You looking for better clothes? Are you looking for better clothes a lot? Or better hair? Huh? You ever wish you had better hair? You know what? It's really interesting because it's not bad to want something better, right? Like to be a better person, to be better isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can be a really good thing. But here's the really difficult thing about better, is that the line between it being something that is actually coming from a bad motivation in you and a good motivation is almost impossible to see. And so what's happening when we want something better, we don't often ask ourselves this tough question. Why? Why do I think my life would be better, for instance, if I had this or was this type of person? We don't ask ourselves why. What's driving that? And even some of the good things, like if you're an athlete and you're practicing hard and you're running your routes, or you're skating hard, trying to be a better skater, or you're shooting hoops constantly because you want to be a better shooter, like that's all good stuff. But the motivation, what's the motivation? What's driving you? Why do you want to be better? And it could be good. But I think if we investigate that why question a little bit more, what we'll start to discover is that the why question reveals not necessarily the best motivations in us, that something is driving us. And it's usually about value. That if I have this, or if I look like this, or if I am a person like this, I'll be more valuable. And we don't think about that. But if you just stop for a little bit and ask yourself that question, why? That might be coming up. Well, yeah, I think I'll feel more valuable. Because here we've all experienced this, and this is, I gotta say, I still don't understand it fully. It is the weirdest feeling. When you get something that you really, really want, somehow, someway, it makes you feel more valuable. It is so weird. It makes you feel better about yourself. Like if you get like this awesome outfit, or if you get a beautiful car, if you just think about these things, somehow they make us feel like a better person. It's very strange. Even think of good marks. Somehow they're attached to value, how much we value ourselves. The problem is that value slowly disappears. Actually, maybe not that slowly. And pretty soon you want a better car, or you want better marks, or you want to be a better shooter, or you want to be a better quarterback, or a better cornerback, or a better whatever back. So here's kind of the thinking here. We seem to be wired to always want something better. Sometimes it's for a benefit, and sometimes it isn't. And yet, this seems to be the way we're wired. We're constantly thinking about being better or getting something better. One of the reasons why I think Hebrews is really important. So here's the second thing. So we're not just wired this way. We're continually getting offered the better. Let's call it the better. You probably were like, what? I haven't heard that before. Well, let's just call it the better. Whatever it is, the better life, the better whatever. We're constantly getting offered it. Just think about advertising. I mean, this is where advertising makes its money. Hey, girls, are you guys with me here? Okay, good. There's this constant push that you need to buy our product. And often they'll attach it to your value. You'll be a better person. You know what? If you wear this body spray, You'll be the girls will be flocking to you, or right? There's whole advertising campaigns that try to communicate if you have this product, it'll actually make you a better person, which is really interesting. It's like a spray. It just smells. And yet, advertising it gets us. We're very susceptible to it, and it evokes kind of it figures, it's weird because it seems to evoke or discover the desires that I have for things that I didn't know I needed. And suddenly I'm like, I need that. But there's this something subtle underneath that advertising that you will be better, or this will make your life better, or you'll feel better about yourself, or you'll actually be a better person if you buy our product. Or movies. Now, this is an interesting one. I had to think about this one a little bit because I'm like, well, how do movies do this? And I guess it is the fantasy that life is actually different than it really is. So the movies kind of give us this picture of life that isn't real. And yet somehow we still kind of think that if our life was more like the movies, our life would be better. And if you think about it, like, pretty much every movie. Some movies kind of throw you for a loop. But if you're action movies, for instance, or crime thrillers or whatever, you always get a sense of justice, right? And so if it's the type of movie where you want the main character to be morally good, they'll be like pointing the gun and be like, oh, and you're kind of going like, yeah, don't kill him because he deserves it. And if you don't, then he'll kill your family or whatever, or he'll blow up the world. And so the main character is put in this position that has to make this decision, but the character comes through, good character, right? And no, I don't want to be like this guy. I'm not going to murder him. And so they don't pull the trigger. But as they're walking away, right, the guy gets down and he has a hidden gun and he goes to shoot them and then they shoot him first and then justice is served and they didn't murder him. And you're like, you have that sense of like, yeah, that's the way the world's supposed to be. And movies do that. Or books too. Like, not just movies. Most movies come from books, right? So stories. Social media. Now this is an interesting one. We'll dive into this more later on in Hebrews. But social media, it's very interesting. You can be better if you look like this person, right? So if you might be going like, oh, I want this or that. And it's not bad to go like, oh, like look at this haircut. Like, this is awesome. I want this haircut. Remember, it's not always bad. But it can be. It's the motivation, right? Or you can be better if you're an influencer, right? Or if you're following the right influencer. Or maybe you'll feel better about yourself if you're famous. Like, this is a big one. Like, lots of people want to be like YouTube famous. It's like and something that's alluring. Have you ever asked, like, well, why? And if you can get beyond, because you'll be rich. Well, why do you want to be rich? Like, keep asking them why until you get down to what is that motivation that's pushing you towards that? What is it about fame and wealth that is alluring you? If you're rich, yeah. Or if you fill in the blank, social media can really help you out there, feel better about yourself. Or on the flip side, which is what happens probably more, it does the opposite. And so what happens is you start comparing yourself to other people's lives. And you're like, my life sucks. I wish I was better. And social media, this is probably one of the biggest, I would say, harmful things about social media is the comparison game that it makes you play. It is very difficult. So what you're comparing the drudgery of your life with someone's highlight reel photo, right? Where you're imagining all the good things that must have happened in order to get this photo. Oh, somehow they just got this photo. Yeah, somebody else must have shot it, but it was with their phone. It's really weird, right? It's social media. Or education. right? This is pressure. So if you're like maybe grade 10, grade 11 for sure, definitely by grade 12, lots of pressure. You need a better education. You need to figure out your path. The pressure is killer. And there's so many options. What do you do? Because better education or good choices, maybe better choices, equals better life. That's what our culture pushes. But that's not true. Not necessarily, anyway. It can help, maybe. So in the end, this all seems really overwhelming. You guys with me? Sometimes life just seems so overwhelming because of that. We're wired. We want to be better. We want better stuff. And it's not just better for ourselves. Sometimes the better, if we actually look at the motivation, is because we want something that's better than other people have or than that particular person has. I want a better mark than that one person. Right? What's going on there? But it just seems overwhelming. Like so much. Well, here's the third thing. We've kind of uncovered some problems, but there's a problem within the problem, and it's a reoccurring problem. I only feel better about myself for a short time. That's one of the problems. When we chase after the better, it doesn't last. Because someone else always has something better. So you get a new iPhone 15, and a few months later, the iPhone 16's out, and you're like, oh, that's better. Well, that's kind of a dumb example, but it is. It's one of the things we do. And not only that, there's always someone who's better than you. Now, sometimes that can help motivate us to be better. Again, it's not always bad. But it puts us in a tough spot because this is a recurring problem. And here's kind of the bottom line. I'm not happy once the better, whatever it is, wears off. And so how do I do this? What do I do now? Well, you do the same thing again, so that for that moment in time, you feel better, so that you're happy. Because I remember when I got this, I'm so happy. But that thing is still sitting right there, and it doesn't make you happy anymore, so you need something else. And so it's this constant cycle. It just happens over and over. It's a recurring problem. And in the end, it just leaves you empty and asking these questions. Does this cycle ever end? Maybe. Maybe you just keep going buying stuff and try to cover that up. But this is underneath. Will it ever end? Will I ever just be happy? This is the recurring problem, and it keeps happening over and over. And so when we ask ourselves those questions, when we feel like that, the answer, we go back to point one. We're wired. Oh, if I get something better, then I'll be better. Even though we just went through the whole thing, and we're actually not better. Okay, the writer of Hebrews, this is the message. There is a better way. One of the major themes of the Bible is that the life that we desire one of the major themes of the Bible is that the life we desire can only be found in God or in Jesus. And here's the kicker. It's not that it's just one of the ways. It's the only way. Because every other way leaves us empty. I don't like that statement, actually. I don't like it. There's something in me that goes like, no, it can't be. And yet, time and time again, it proves true over and over, even in my own life, and I still push against it at times. This is how John puts it, and we use this verse lots. John 10:10, the thief, talking about our enemy, talking about the devil, the thief comes only. Hey, that's an important word. Only to steal and kill and destroy. So the better that you're feeling the reason that you're in a cycle, the reason that it just keeps happening and that you never kind of grasp the happiness that you thought would maybe last a little bit longer is because that's his job. He's a thief. And he's trying to deceive us. And he's trying to make us doubt that Jesus is better. That is the one thing that he will always push hard against every time. Jesus is not better. There's better. There's got to be better. That is his constant push because he only comes to steal and kill and destroy. But Jesus said, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. So Jesus is giving, these are big words. And I'm telling you, like, this verse has been one of the theme verses for my life, and I have pushed against it many times and asked Jesus full out, is this the full life you've been offering? Because I don't feel it. I've come up against it so much. And yet I still believe it. I still know it's true. And I know that the life that Jesus offers is better. I know it is. And yet, at this point in my life, I'm going like, oh wow, so this struggle happens probably your whole life. The struggle to embrace the fact that only Jesus has the life that you actually really desire. And so in the end, we come to this conclusion from John and from the whole book of Hebrews, and really the entire Bible, is that Jesus is better. And so I'm just going to read the first 4 verses of our Hebrew passage, and then we're gonna go to small group. And so here's how the author of Hebrews begins this letter. Long ago, God spoke many times and in many ways to our ancestors through the prophets. So if you look into the Old Testament, God communicated to his people through what we know as prophets. And so a prophet was someone who had a message from God for the people. And now, so he's talking about in these final days, he's talking about since Jesus came, he has spoken to us through his Son. And so he's, right off the beginning, he's comparing and compassing. Jesus is better. The very first verse, right? 1 and 2. You have this, which was good, right? God spoke through prophets. It was great. But now he speaks through us through his Son, which is better. God promised everything to the Son as an inheritance. And through the Son, he created the universe. Do you guys realize that? That's in your small group. You're actually going to go through a similar verse from Colossians. That through Jesus, the world, the earth, the universe was created. So he pre-existed his birth. Interesting. You get to talk about that in your small group too. The Son, talking about Jesus, radiates God's own glory and expresses the very character of God. Isn't that cool? And so if you want to know what God is like, you look at Jesus. He showed us what God is like. He also showed us what a relationship with God looks like. And so he doesn't only radiate God's own glory and express his character, he sustains everything by the mighty power of his command or his word. Like everything is being held together by Jesus and his speech, his word. This is amazing. Because, by the way, the New Testament calls Jesus the Word of God. That's who he is. He's the Word. It's called, in Greek, it's the Logos. Not the, it's Logos. He's the Word. So, anyway, I'm right of Hebrews knows this. So, that statement should blow us away. He sustains everything by the mighty power of his command, even the people who hate him. He's sustaining them. It's amazing. Now it goes into what he did for us. When he had cleansed us from our sins, he sat down in the place of honor at the right hand of the majestic God in heaven. This shows that the Son is far greater, or in our language, Jesus is better than the angels, just as the name God gave him is greater than their names. So here we have the author of Hebrews. He's opening up. He's giving us this snapshot of what's to come. And he's going like, you think anything is better than Jesus? That's impossible. Jesus is God's own Son, and he radiates God's own glory and expresses God's very character. The love that God that is written about in the Scripture, Jesus actually showed it to us in real life, and we have a record of it in the Bible. Like, we can read it. The life of Jesus. There's 4 Gospels, and they all talk about the life of Jesus. We can read it. We can go like, oh, wow. He radiates God's own glory. And so the right off the bat, he makes it clear. He does a little comparison right at the start. So we're actually gonna pick this up with the angels and explore that a little bit next week. But we're out of time for today. And so just join us. For the next couple of months, we're going to explore this book. We're going to test that statement, Jesus is better. Because that is a difficult statement to believe. And when I say believe, here's where our culture gets this mixed up. We think believing means that in our minds we agree with something. That's not what belief is. That's mental assent. That's agreeing in your mind. Belief is something that's far deeper, and it's deep inside, and it actually is one of the things that drives your actions and behaviors. Belief does. Like what you really believe comes out. And so we'll be exploring that too. So we're gonna explore this theme. I'm excited about it. I think it's a fabulous book. And to tell you the truth, I need this as well. I need to be reminded that Jesus is better than all of the other options that are pushing themselves at me at all times. Jesus and his way is better.